Welcome back to the IE427 garage, everybody. Well, we've got a change in scenery here in the shop. The 25th anniversary car is up on the lift. The prototype is down on the floor. And we're going to get this 25th anniversary car, Pauline, ready to go home. All right, so before I jump into the 25th anniversary car, I wanted to stop and give the owner of the prototype a little update on what's going on in his car, because it just came off the lift this morning, and I meant to do this last night, and I got tired, and I went in the house. So, knowing that I was going to pull this off the lift, I knew it had to be mobile, so I had to hook the steering back up. I needed the wheels back on, stuff like that. We're in between doing the coilover springs on both the front and the rear. I'm waiting on the rear springs right now, so I'm inserting this video in between so that we can get those springs in and I can finish up the spring change out on these, which is going to lead me into something on the 25th anniversary car, but I'll get back to that. So yesterday, knowing that I had to get this off the lift, I wanted to get as much stuff done in the small amount of time that I had. So what I started with is I started with some of the stuff on the firewall, because I knew that I had to get some of this stuff in order so that when the 25th anniversary car goes home, hopefully this coming week, that I'll have a good jump start on all the stuff for this car. So I wanted to measure some of the things that I had done on the 25th anniversary car and mimic those things here on the prototype. So you can see I've got some masking tape on the front firewall with an arrow. That's where I put the fuel pressure regulator on the 25th anniversary car. Now, the 25th anniversary car had the firewall forward, but essentially I'm going to be able to use the same spot to mount the fuel pressure regulator. I want to get that in as soon as I get this one back up on the lift. And the other thing that I wanted to measure out was where the surge tank went. And so you can see here, I've got a line where I mounted the surge tank in the 25th anniversary car, and that measurement is from the chassis over. Now, these still have to come off for our Breeze upper mount, but I'll deal with that when the time comes. So those are the two things there. The other thing that I needed to do was I needed to get this brake line for the front brakes kind of stubbed up in the air so that it was out of the way. I didn't want to walk by the car and poke myself in the eye with that thing the way I had it before. So got that. I got some heat and sound mat on the firewall, as you can see. That's one of those things I like to take care of sooner rather than later, only because when you start running wires and stuff, it's harder to get that stuff in place. I went as far as to take our newly powder coated firewall extension piece and put a piece of heat and sound mat on that. Now you can see I've also fabricated a support for the firewall. You can see how stable this makes the firewall versus just having it rest underneath the body with just nothing but the bulb seal to hold it in place. I've also put a hole in the center of that just in case we need to run some more wires. There is space on top and on the bottom to get stuff through, but I always like to make one big hole in the center just in case I need more places to run wires or anything else that may go through there. Then what I did last night to finish off the night, I wanted to get this panel all drilled and clecoed so that, again, when this goes back up on the lift, this piece is ready to go on, because everything that we needed to have done underneath is done. Our fuel lines are done, our brake lines are done, and other than our sway bar that we've got to put on, everything else is done underneath there. So I want to get this piece in, and then I'm going to start working on our drop trunk box on this car. So that'll get you caught up on this one. And then while I was talking about springs on the prototype, I have a little spring story to tell you about the 25th anniversary car. I put this thing up on the lift, and I noticed outside when I pulled it out and had it sitting there while I moved the prototype off the lift, that it looked like it was sitting kind of low in the back. And so I measured it, and I thought, man, I know I left more room in between the fender and the top of the tire than that. And I thought, well, maybe it's just because the 18-inch tires and wheels just make it look a little different. But I got up on the lift. I got the car up on the lift, and I took my trusty measuring stick right there, and I measured from the bottom of the frame rails to the bottom of my measuring stick, and the car has dropped nearly an inch. It dropped about 3/4 of an inch in the front, and it dropped a full 1 inch in the back. Now, the owner of this car has bugged me since he was here last. Every time he talks to me, he tells me, go out and drive the car, go out and drive the car. Well, I drove the car so much that I pretty much ran it out of gas. I just got gas for it the other day. I put it in there, and so now the car's got just over 1/4 of a tank again. But I told him, I'm not driving this thing anymore. And the reason is because these tires are so sticky that they pick up every piece of road debris that's on the street, and they just chuck it up at the body or in the fender well. And so what was a nice clean fender well in the front is now full of debris. So no more. So regardless of what the odometer may read now, because it still only reads 1 mile, it takes a while for the satellite to pick this particular GPS antenna up. I don't know why. Maybe that'll change after he starts putting some miles on it, and the fact that it's sat in the garage here more than it's been outside. But it barely registers by the time I'm pulling back in the driveway. You know, I've taken around the block more than a few times, and it just seems like the speedometer is working, but the GPS part of it wasn't clocking any miles because it just wasn't registering the miles. Or maybe it's because I haven't gone out of a particular radius. I don't know. Whatever the case may be, we now have the car up on the lift. I've adjusted the front coilovers. So now the front coilovers I raised up 3 or 4 turns. So I think every turn is 1/8 of an inch. So basically 4 turns is going to dictate a 1/2 inch raise in the suspension in the front. Now, keep in mind, when you raise the front, by the time you raise the back, you cantilever the back. And so it actually raises the front up too, depending on where you're measuring from the bottom of the frame rail. So keep in mind that unless you're measuring directly from underneath the wheels, which is really hard because that's where my jack sits, that those measurements that you get may change primarily just because of where you're measuring on the frame. And especially if you have any rake to the position of the car front to back, it'll exaggerate some of those measurements. So what I'm looking for in the front is about 4 1/4 from the frame rail down to the ground, and I'm looking for about 4 3/4 in the back. And so I've got the front where I think I need it, and I had to tighten down the locking collars just to where they were snug. I mean, I probably could have got another turn out of them, but they were really snug on the bottom of the spring, and that's the way they were when we initially set this thing up. So it's moved. So I'm going to take and I'm going to lower the front of the car back down. I'm going to take my bridge jack, I'm going to move it back here, and I'm going to raise the back up. I can actually do these without taking the wheels off, but I may take the wheels off anyway just to clean out the wheel wells. And I can thank who I can thank for that, but I'll get over it. So I'm going to clean all that up, and this is all in preparation in detailing the car. So I've got to get all of the stuff that we've left on the car off. So for instance, the protective film on the wind wings and the sun visors have to go. Any protective covering that I've had on the carpet, I've had some paper laid down or cardboard on the floors just so I wouldn't booger up the carpet. All that stuff has to come out now. We want to get this car all cleaned up over the next, I don't know, 10 hours or so. And then it probably won't take that long. I think I can get it all cleaned up in about 5 hours. So get that all done, and then tomorrow I want to roll it outside. I want to position it in front of the shop, and I want to take some glamour shots of the car. And then next week, if everything goes right, the owner's going to be coming and picking the car up and taking it home. So it'll be nice that he'll finally be able to enjoy the car. At least he'll be able to have the car, you know, versus having the car 1,000 miles away. And I'll have some more room in the shop, so that'll be nice. So let me get to work on this, and I'll bring you guys back just as soon as I've got this thing sitting back on all fours on the lift, and I start getting into detailing it. All right, I can't even say it. Evanescence Fallen. I got the ride height all back to where it needs to be. I'll turn the camera around and I'll show you. It's probably going to settle, probably another 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch. And as I lower the car back down, obviously it's not going to compress the springs where they need to be. You got to roll the car back and forth. So it's probably going to show a little high as I turn the camera around, but that's okay. For the amount of settling we already got, I think we're going to be fine. So this is what it looks like now. We've got a little bit more fender clearance in the back, so there's enough to at least put your hand in here. And then it does seem excessively high in the front, but again, I haven't rolled the car back and forth yet, so once we start doing that, it'll settle down a little bit. But what I'm starting to work on now, and I did check all the tire pressures, all 4 corners, and I think I only had to put air in one. I think I had to put a 1/2 pound of air in this one. Just so you all know, I put 19 pounds in each of the 2 front tires, and I put 18 pounds in each of the 2 rear tires. Now, some of that will change with the weather. So obviously if it's colder, the air pressure is going to be lower than what it's going to be when the temperature outside is warmer. And the same thing when you drive the car. The tires heat up, and therefore you get more pressure. So that's why they always tell you to check your tires when they're cold before you take them out on the road, so you can have a baseline to set them. So I think we set all the pressures previously, 19 in the front, 18 in the back. So I don't know why it would change, but whatever. I checked it, and it's good now. So what I'm going to start working on is detailing the car. So you can see there's a good layer of dust on everything. And there's fingerprints, of course, on everything. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take the California car duster and I'm going to get all of the dust that's just accumulated on the car off. But before that, I'm actually going to take compressed air and I'm going to blow off the top of the car. Anywhere where any particle could be resting, like, for instance, there's some fiberglass particles right there. If I just start attacking this thing with the duster or a rag and start wiping this kind of crap into the paint, it's going to scratch the finish. So I want to make sure I get all that garbage off before I go after this with the California car duster or the terry cloth. I pulled it out of the bag because I don't want to use a rag that I have previously used on anything else. I want to make sure that there's nothing on this rag that I'm going to grind into the paint. So I'm going to get started on that. I'm going to quickly blow this thing off with some compressed air, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start using the car duster to get all the dust off. I think I'll bring you back once I dust it, and then after that I'll start detailing it. All right, so this is just a single wipe with the car duster. And so you can see I just did a quick once over with the duster, and there's still fingerprints and all kinds of other stuff on here. Oh, that duster, it's notorious. It hates these button head screws on the hood, and I always forget, and sure as you know what, I always get one little hair caught right there. So I'm going to have to grab a pair of tweezers and get that off of there. But yeah, it's amazing. You know, I had this car outside while I was moving the prototype, and the car looks completely different outside. Depending on how the lights are on in the shop, it looks completely different. So if, for instance, I have the LEDs on, you can see the LEDs are kind of blue. Those are like a 5000K lamp. They make the paint look blue. And then the LED spotlights here are a 27K, which is a more yellow light. And so they make the car look more gold. So depending on where I am in the shop and how I film it, makes the color of this car completely different. So once it's outside and it sees sunlight, it really starts to pull the gold that's in the paint out. So I don't know if you can see some of it right here. Now keep in mind that's the 27K LED light that's behind me, but it looks gold here. So it really picks up the bronze in the wheels, and it really looks sharp. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to start detailing the car. And what product am I using today? I think I'm using, yeah, I've got this stuff, and I've been really happy with this. And I'm not pushing this on anybody, but I've just been really happy with the results. I basically spray this onto the terry cloth rag, and then I wipe the product on. And the nice thing about this is it doesn't haze, and so you can immediately just flip the rag over to the dry side and then buff it, and it really brings out the shine in the paint. So I'm going to start on that. The order in which I'm going to do this is I'm going to actually start from the top down, and then after I get everything wiped down with the detailer, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go inside. I'm going to treat the leather for the seats. I'm going to clean the dash. I'm probably going to clean the windows and the roll bars. And then the last thing I'll do is the side pipes and the wheels. So somewhere in there, probably right before I detail the interior, I'll go ahead and I'll vacuum the carpets one more time. You can see we've got dust on the center console from when we were putting everything in here. So that's fiberglass dust. So I'll bring you back at different points through the process and show you what it's looking like. All right, I am a little bit farther along. I've got the car. Well, I've got all of the paint detailed. And I've got the front bumpers detailed, and I got the rear bumper detailed. I think, did I do the side pipes? I think I did the side pipes. I think I wiped them down too. But the rest of the bright work all has to be done. So the windshield has to be done, all the chrome around it, the chrome roll bars need to be done. But I just wanted to take a moment and show you guys the paint, because it's just, I keep saying this, but it is just magnificent. Jeff did such a great job on this. And the metal flake in this paint is just it's astounding. It catches the light differently, and so I was texting back and forth with the owner, and just from the different aspects and the different type of light that's here in the shop, the car takes on a different color. So let me show you what I got going here. So all of the paint has been wiped down, and I was also texting Jeff Miller and telling him what a headache he was causing me. That's the insulation on the ceiling of the shop that you can see in the paint. So as you're trying to wipe the thing down, it almost appears as if you've got something on the paint, but then you have to remember it's a reflection. And while you don't get it as much on the metallic color, it's still there. So like I said, this is just coming out so nice. And so tomorrow, all I really have to do is finish up the bright work and then concentrate on getting the interior cleaned up, get it vacuumed, get it wiped down, and then outside she goes. Weather permitting, we're going to take some glamour shots of the car, and we're going to hold on to those pictures until the owner comes out to see the car. I might share one teaser photo. I usually do that on Facebook, but I really want the owner to see the car for the first time before I post a bunch of pictures. And so we'll tease him with one picture as well, probably the same one that you guys will see. And tomorrow I'll be out here in the shop again and cleaning up what's left to clean up on the car, and then we'll roll it outside and take some pictures of it. Welcome to tomorrow, everybody. I've got the cars all moved around. I've got the 25th anniversary car in front of the lift again. I've got the battery charger plugged in so that we bring the battery back up to full. And then I've got the prototype Mark IV back up on the lift. I've got some parts that we had delivered for the prototype, some hoses. We've got a brake handle, some other stuff. But let's get back to the 25th anniversary car here. I just wanted to do a quick wrap up on it. I did end up getting all of the bright work on the car nice and shiny. Cleaned the windows. I cleaned all the sun visors, the wind wings, the mirrors, the roll bars, the bumpers, the gas cap, the dash, the seats, all that kind of stuff. I even vacuumed the carpet out again and put a paper, I don't know, what is it, foot mat in there so I wouldn't get my grubby feet all over the nicely cleaned carpet. We've got a spare set of keys in the glove box and the socket for the small, they're the tuner style lugs that go on these wheels. So we've got the key for that in the glove box, and then we've got our IE427 keychain, which is usually the crowning touch of any of our builds. So that's going to wrap this one up. This is an exciting time because, especially for a car owner that's out of town, they tend to, I don't know, I don't want to say want it more than all the other, customers that we have that, we may do a build for that are, more local. But I think the anticipation, it's almost like Christmas as the car is getting finished, they can't wait to unwrap this package. And so there's a lot of anxiety that I think every one of these owners go through. And I was just on the phone texting back and forth with this owner, trying to get some details squared away. He's got some extra parts upstairs that we're in the process of trying to get sold for him or help him get sold. And so I was texting back and forth with him about that. So he's really excited. They're going to be coming down in 3 more days. 3 more days. They're supposed to be here picking up the car. I look forward to seeing them. I think he's going to bring his son-in-law down with him, who had a part of the build when they came down the previous couple of times. And so it'll be fun to see everybody again, and then obviously to see the look on their faces when they see the completed car. So I'm going to wrap things up here. As always, I want to thank you all for watching. We appreciate every view. We appreciate all the growth in the channel. And I just want to ask you to do the like, the share, the subscribe, all that stuff. Remember, subscribe doesn't cost you anything. It just means that you'll get notified when the videos are out. So please, if you're watching the channel anyways, just hit the subscribe button. And we'll see you guys all next time. Have a great day.